When little-known developer Snowblind released Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance in 2001, it came as a bit of a surprise. Although it essentially took the Diablo gameplay and transposed it into the Dungeons & Dragons pantheon, the game looked so good and was executed with such skill that any plagiarizing was easy to forgive. Snowblind has since gone on to hook up with Sony Online Entertainment to create Champions of Norrath, an action RPG set in the world of EverQuest, which carries some significant problems but remains one of the best hack-and-slash RPGs to come to the PS2. Champions of Norrath's pattern should seem immediately familiar to anyone who's played a hack-and-slash RPG. The game features 5 different character classes including Barbarian, Ranger, Cleric, Wizard, and Shadow Knight. The impact of the different classes on the gameplay is pretty predictable. Barbarians are pure melee fighters, the Wizards pure magic users, and the other 3 classes put varying emphasis on magic, melee, and ranged attacks. Once you've gotten your character set up, you'll work your way through the dungeons, slaughtering bad guys, pillaging treasure chests, and snapping up the occasional quest item. The combat is simple, and though it's important to know when to block and when to retreat, the game puts a greater emphasis on statistics over hand-eye coordination. When you can't carry any more stuff, you teleport back to town, sell off all the gear you don't need to the local shop, pick up some new stuff, and head back to the dungeons. Almost every piece of weaponry and armor in Champions of Norrath can be upgraded by attaching special jewels you find while adventuring to them. Every few dungeons, your character will gain a new level, which will enable you to expand upon your character's skills and attributes. The numerous quests that you'll be charged with are pretty by-the-numbers affairs of either extermination or item retrieval. There are a few quests where you'll have to escort an NPC, and it was during one of these quests that we discovered a pretty serious bug. About 7 or 8 hours in, we accidentally broke the game's scripting, causing NPC we were supposed to escort to get stuck in the level geometry, keeping us from progressing any further. We were able to rectify the problem by restarting from an earlier save, but it's pretty serious to find a show-stopping bug like this in a retail box game. Champions also features a co-op mode that can be played either on or offline with up to 4 players. The offline game pretty much works how you'd expect, and the online mode isn't that much different, which can prove to be problematic. Since each player has their own screen, you're not limited to sharing the same screen space, and each player can wander about a given area as they please, which is good. However, if one of the players decides to go to a different area, chat with an NPC, or go into a shop, all the other players are dragged along with them regardless of their location. The game features voice chat support for communicating with your fellow adventurers, which is an absolute necessity if you want to barter any of your possessions with another player. The mere inclusion of an online co-op mode is definitely to the game's favor, but it's disappointing that its implementation wasn't better thought out. Champions of Norrath runs on an enhanced version of the Dark Alliance engine, and when it's running right, the game looks absolutely phenomenal. The game uses both static and dynamic lighting effects to enhance the sense of 3-dimensional space, and some vivid colored lighting is occasionally thrown in to augment the atmosphere. The textures on the game's various tile sets look razor sharp, and some bump mapping type effects make the environments look that much more real. The creatures that populate the world of Norrath, which include high fantasy staples like orcs, goblins, skeletons, giant spiders, and cyclopses, are all rendered with care, as are the 10 different player character models. However, the gorgeous visuals come with a price. Part of what made Dark Alliance look so great was its unwavering frame rate. So when Champions of Norrath bogs down when the screen is full of enemies and particle effects, or sometimes for no apparent reason at all, it's pretty disappointing. The quality of the sound in the game mirrors that of the visuals. The voice acting for Champions of Norrath includes a cast of veterans including Cam Clark, Tony Jay, and Michael Bell, the triumvirate of video game voice actors. And all of them put in some really good work here. The excellent music in Champions features an orchestral score that really underlines the grand adventure you're on, and different themes that complement the different locations. Ambient sound design is solid, and everything from the echoed dripping of water to the din of combat all sounds great. The sound design also, unfortunately, has some bugs, such as where the music or the ambient sound effects are mysteriously absent for minutes at a time, though these bugs are admittedly not as glaring as some of the game's graphical problems. Playing Champions of Norrath can be a rather bittersweet experience, really. The core components that make up the whole game, the graphics, the sound design, the gameplay, all come together to create an experience that is altogether enjoyable. But for all the solid game design and thoughtful production work, the experience is crippled by lots of tiny bugs, issues that, without question, could and should have been stomped out well before the game's release. That the game is still great, even when bringing these flaws into consideration, speaks to the sheer quality of the work that Snowblind has put into Champions of Norrath. It's also plainly obvious that there was potential here for something much, much greater. For the full story, be sure to check out our text review.